Black Canary, Best of the Best, issue 6, Tom King writing with RYAN SOOK. You know, there's some interesting stuff here that I like. Obviously, it results in Canary effectively winning the fight. Everyone knows she's won, and then she still says, I surrender, to technically, you know, adhere to the deal she made with Savage.
Yes, but also I would always say in a type of match where you have to surrender, if you've gotten beaten to the point where you can't say it, that counts as a surrender. So I don't know. There's some really weird rules into this fight. You know, I don't think you can beat the mess out of the person and be like, all right, I quit.
I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, exactly who's running this fight? What are the rules for this fight? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it works for the story in that Canary still was able to honor the wishes of her mother, but also save her mother, right? She wanted her to win, but part of it was that she would have to, you know, do the surrender. Yeah, and she manages to do both.
And spiritually, she does win. Like, you know, and that's the thing. Like, Shiva's always going to know she lost, really. But she, you know, she still says, I surrender.
The fact that the disrespect from Shiva through this fight, right? She rips Canary's blonde wig off, which I didn't realize that Dinah still wears a wig, right? I figured by this point she'd be dyeing her hair, right? But she goes and she rips the wig off. Your
memory is absolutely terrible. We talked about this in the last issue.
No. Yes. I just mean, like, here, by this point, you're going into a fight, right?
No, but we saw her take off.
It was just one of those things.
Yeah, but we saw her take off the wig when she was training with her mum, which is like the last last few weeks. Remember the panel where they're sitting in the forest where the dad proposed? And both their wigs were off?
My memory's complete notes. I forgot about that scene.
And we even talked about the fact that, that's weird, she's wearing a wig still. I feel like that's something that wasn't actually in continuity until King's decided to put it there.
You know what? I probably said the same exact thing. If you go back 2 months ago to that issue, I probably said the same exact thing there.
You probably did.
You know?
Yeah.
However, it works in with what the story that King wants to be told, because it is this big disrespect. It's like Shiva is disrespecting the memory of her mother. And that's kind of what kicks her almost into overdrive, right? And she pulls herself up and, you know, we get this cross cut with her, you know, looking at a wig, right? As she, you know, she rips it off, right? And it's after she had gone back from the hospital visiting with her mom, right? And she destroyed the kitchen and she ripped the wig off and it's just sitting there and she's addressing the wig like it's her mom. So just getting that comparison here of after Shiva had ripped it off and then we get that whole scene, it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah, she wrecks that kitchen like Tommy Wiseau. The whole thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the wig, you know, the fact that she has the blonde hair like her mom, it's kind of almost like something she chose to always have to be like her mom. It's like the part that's there, like visibly the whole time. So, like you say, her having the wig ripped off makes her get back up and determined to continue the fight. It's the whole thing. So. Yeah, I mean, obviously the art in the fight is pretty solid. It has been throughout the entire book. Sook's a solid artist. But yeah, we get her, you know, winning with a big kick to the face. She was beaten to a pulp, and she still says, I surrender. And the final scene with the mom when she goes to the hospital, and it's like, you know, doctor's saying it's a miracle, and obviously Canary knows what she's done. She's you know, engineered this. But when she says, hey, what about the fight, the match, what happened? And she says, I lost. And her mum just smiles and says, oh, that's okay. We'll get him next time. And it just kind of feels like it wasn't like a life or death thing for you. I mean, you were never going to admit before the fight that it wasn't going to be a big deal if I lost, but it was never going to be something that made her judge you or made Canary feel, you know, little or anything like that. So,
I also, the way that she wins is with that super kick, basically. And I just could not hear HBK's theme after it. So just again, the art here sells it completely, just the body language with the kick and the way that Shiva's falling back. This is a well done moment.
Yeah. And of course the book ends on our favorite pages, which is the two commentators saying a shit ton of words.
I would say that's my biggest problem with this issue. Is it I wish it just had ended with Dinah and her mom in the hospital, and her going, "We'll get them next time," and it's like, "Yeah, we will," And then I get to turn the page. I have to see these two big old heads and continue in the nonsense. Yeah. Which I would say that's probably my ultimate criticism of the book is it's way too wordy for what it is. And I don't know if that's King, what he's trying, but I could have done with less of the commentary here.
Yeah, it's only wordy with the commentators. Every other character speaks a nice normal amount. It's if anything, it's like it's opposite from wordy. It's just the commentators, which I get what he's going for. He's going for these commentators who feel like they have to fill space, so they're just always talking. They're always making up drama to try and sell the story of the match. And of course, part of the subtext or the layers here is that they are so wrong constantly about everything they're saying about what's actually going on in the match and what's actually going through their heads. Because at the end here, or at least at one point after the surrender moment happens, is they basically say, "Oh, we thought she was maybe going to have it, but of course, maybe like it was. We got the sense of hope, but it was always going to be Shiva, even though Shiva was clearly just beat and is lying unconscious in the middle of the ring." They have no idea what they were actually. They were just trying to sell a match. They were trying to like make it entertaining. So,
do we think that if Dinah hadn't had this deal with Savage, do we think it would have gone 6 rounds? Do we think, because clearly she was holding back trying to get to the 6 rounds, right?
Well, I wouldn't say she was holding back. I would say kind of the opposite, actually. I would say that because getting to round 6 meant she could maybe save her mum, that gave her the fire and the determination to survive till round 6. I don't think she was necessarily holding back. I think if anything, you could argue that if she was only in a match for exhibition reasons, that she might actually go down in round 3 or something like that. But because she had the reason, she had the personal motivation to get to round 6.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Do we think that, because we know she outlasts Shiva, right? Because she has to, because it's for her mom. Right, but do we think if this was just a regular, do we think that Canary could have won the fight in 3? Like, if she had wanted to?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it's the opposite. I think she would have lost. I think she only had the determination to win and the fire to win because she had that.
Because of mom.
Yeah, that reason. She had that reason where she has to do it.
Okay. Okay. I mean, just in the what we were getting in Batgirl, and then with here, just the theme of moms and the relationships and whatever, and Dinah here with her mom, and that's being her driving force, and then we're seeing that with Cass. And then there's pages of Batgirl. I do think it's having Shiva and Canary here, it's a nice compliment.
It's not even just a question of like the fire and her either. It's the idea that her mother even put her through her training regimen as part of like building up to this fight. And I think this idea of that her mother is like, if she was just given this fight for some other reason, I don't think she would have trained as hard. She wouldn't have done all the things her mother made her do to train for the fight. So even just on like a physical sense, she probably wouldn't have been in the same shape for it. But it's
that could have been too.
Yeah. No, I mean this was a good bit. I mean, it is probably in the lesser end of Tom King's like miniseries, but that's only because the standard is so goddamn high. This is not going to compare or measure up to a Doctor Strange or a
Danger Street,
Strange Adventures, Rorschach, like all those books are much better. But that's I think this is better. It's definitely better than Jenny Sparks, which is definitely on the lower end.
Yeah, all the stuff with Dinah and her mom, I think, really push it towards that, closer to that level. Because I definitely think that between this and then Wonder Woman this week is Tom King, when it comes to parent-child relationships, he has a lot to say, right? And so we got the stuff in Wonder Woman with Zeus and Ares, and with here we get the opposite about the parental love, and then the love from the child for the mom, and bringing that fire. And she just wanted to be her mom, right? She wanted to make her proud, and just so I like all of that stuff a lot more of the actiony side of things, But I understand why he had to break it up the way that he did and the way that they sell it with calling it, you know, best of the best, and each issue's around. But I definitely enjoyed a lot more of what he had to say about that parent-child relationship than anything else.
Yeah. No, I mean the character stuff was that was the human element. That's what was exciting. As soon as we got to that point where, oh, she's maybe going to throw the fight to save her mom, that was a great reveal. And that was definitely the emotional through line throughout the entire thing. And that was the suspense. It wasn't, oh, can she win? It was, is she going to choose to win or choose to throw it? It was that moral kind of dilemma of what to pick that was the interesting part. And I do think that was a good hook. But
well, I also love, too, that she doesn't take the dive. Because she does beat Shiva, like you said. She'll always know that she beat Shiva. But in the record, she lost because she surrendered. You know? So, but yeah, it did. She didn't have to take the dive, but she did, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think that she probably would have taken the dive if it wasn't for the sort of the insulting part that you was tied to her mother. I think that, like you say, that wig moment, it felt like, oh no, she's going down. Like, I'll surrender, but she's going down. Admittedly, which is not to say that she like had made her mind up that she was going to do that before then. I think the moment she finally says, I surrender, she's still deciding if she's going to say it. I don't think she makes the choice, 10 minutes ago. I think this is something that she is struggling with all up until the fight, all throughout the fight, and it's not until that moment where she finally screams it, where she finally accepts that she's going to say it.
Right, because her mom didn't raise a quitter. So it is this, it's almost, it's not in her nature. So for her to make that decision, it does, and it feels like this Herculean task for her to do. So, but yeah, that wig moment was really huge. But yeah, no, again, Tom King still pretty much knows what he's doing, because even a lesser Tom King, it ended up being, like you said, it's better than Jenny Sparks. But yeah, I'd put this in about the mid-range of the things that I've enjoyed that he's read or written.
Yeah. All right, what are you rating the Black Canary best of the best?
I'll give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. Yeah, 8 out of 10 sounds good to me.